And I suppose obviously kind of moving on to, Cork versus Kerry this weekend. Obviously big rivalry between Cork and Kerry down the years. So I suppose how are you feeling as a Kerry fan kind of going into that game?
Yeah, Park of Cleve, Sunday. Is it four? It's 4 o'clock, I think.
Hmm.
There'll be no one there. I don't know what the weather's going to be like on Sunday. I don't know what that surface is going to be like. Cork have we have spoke about seven of these in a row now. I think against Cork. I think 2012 was the last time they won a Munster final against us. So I mean, look, you'd be telling lies if you didn't say I wasn't expecting Kerry to win at the weekend. But I'm sure the players, if you're talking to any of them, they'll tell you they're not taking it for granted, which is the standard answer that every Gaelic footballer is going to give you the same answer. We're coming here today, we're not taking anything for granted. We know they're going to put it up against us, all that kind of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Kerry forwards would probably be too hot to handle for the Cork defence, and I think that the Kerry defence may have solidified and maybe kind of moving in a better way than it was, and especially closing up the middle and stuff coming through that way. So I would expect, of course, I'm going to say that, but I would expect Kerry to win at the weekend. Could I give you a margin? Probably not more than 6, not less than 3. I have to.
Yeah. No, I'd fully expect Kerry as well to win that game quite comfortably. Like Cork, I think at times it is their defense. I think that's the biggest weakness. And even in that game versus Louth, they conceded a lot of city frees. They gave away a lot of easy chances. And I think Kerry are probably coming into this game a lot better prepared. The fact that they had their 2 league games against Monaghan and Donegal, and unfortunately, obviously Cork and Longford didn't go ahead. So, what kind of players in the Cork team do you think that you might be a bit wary of? Is there any players even maybe that you're kind of you might be a bit wary of going into that game?
I mean, Cork have footballers. There's no question about it. They do have footballers. They've at midfield, what's his name? Maguire. They've got, your man Dean is still knocking around. Driscoll, Kerrigan, Hanlon. I know that they beat Louth fairly convincingly, but Louth are Division 4. I suppose we've had a bit stronger competition to prepare us for this, and against Monaghan and against Donegal. Our back unit is very solid. It's very solid there. Foley, Morley. It's actually it's been fairly consistent. As consistent as it can be. Tom Sullivan's playing really well. Gavin White, Crowley's there at centre back. Paul Murphy wing back. Midfield was looking good anyway the last 2 occasions. Mourn with the new lad, Mr. O'Connor. So I would expect them to come out of the traps at 100 miles an hour on Sunday. I mean, Cork are going to do that too. Don't get me wrong. There's some serious scorers on that Cork team. The Cork minors as well, and the Cork under-20s have been producing serious footballers over the last year or two as well. And there's a lot of they've been beating us at underage, and producing some really good forwards. I think I was at a McGrath Cup game. I think it was during December. I think Kerry senior team were down in Thailand or something. But obviously, the players that were on the pitch weren't, first string. But some of the Cork footballers that were playing that day, the forwards, they were kicking unbelievable scores in Austin Stack Park. I can't remember what day that was now, but it was during the Christmas. It was quite a cold day inside in Tralee, but it was dry. But Cork outplayed us, and there was some serious footballers in that team. I don't know where they are now. I didn't even have a program on the day, but I look. The backs are going to be on their toes all day, and you're going to earn it any day against Cork. You're going to earn it.
Yeah, and I suppose like with Kerry and Cork with the rivalry there, I think it's always form kind of goes out the window in many ways, doesn't it? Like, I mean, when you look at the game last year, there was only a point between you, I think, in the end. And I think a lot of people felt, because obviously Cork had just been relegated to Division 3, I think a lot of people felt that Kerry were just going to steamroll Cork, but actually that didn't prove to be the case. Obviously, you kind of touched a bit on kind of Kerry's defensive setup a little bit. Like, why do you think Peter Keane has kind of reverted a little bit to being a bit more defensive this year? Do you think maybe, he's looking to change things up a bit, or what do you kind of put it down to?
Well, I think we took a lot of stick last year and the year previous. Leaky was a word that was being thrown around quite a lot. We were maybe leaking a lot of goals. And, you can have great forwards sticking over points up, but if you're leaking goals at the back, it's it's hard to kind of to minimize that damage. It's so I think a lot of the focus was to kind of solidify up the defense really over the last year or two, and I think so far this year anyway, the defensive performances have been fairly good. There was a few goals scored against us all right in the league. Dublin got one against us. Did Mayo get one? I don't know, but Meath. But I think in general we've been doing a lot better in the backs than we were before. So you couple that with strong forwards, and that's the kind of the recipe for success. So I think that the backs have improved a huge amount anyway, in setup and I suppose performance wise. So they probably only have more, little bit more improving to do, as every team does. But I'm expecting good performance from the Kerry defence. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I suppose it will be a good test as well, because obviously, as you were saying, like a lot of very talented forwards in that Cork team, and I think they might have been the highest scorers actually in the entire like National League pyramid between all four divisions. So that definitely will be quite a test, and definitely a game I'm looking forward to this weekend. Obviously, like if you were to get through that, it'd be Limerick or Tip in the final. I mean, I suppose you'd be confident enough then, obviously, that you're going to be in the All Ireland semis after that. Anyway, I mean, either one of them teams might cause a few problems, but you'd have to fancy your chances, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, you fancy your chances, of course. Like, but the one thing that is different this year is the fact that it's you're only getting one bite at the cherry, and if you're not right on the day, you're not right in the day. Sometimes that favors the underdog, sometimes it doesn't. But if you have all your ducks in a row, everything has been going according to plan behind in training. You'd expect that not to make much of a difference, but you just can't take anything for granted. But yeah, I mean, if Kerry get over Cork on Sunday, you'd expect Kerry to come through the Munster final. You would be expecting that, and be the players, the management would be extremely disappointed themselves if that didn't come to pass. But we'll see. That's like Peter Keane would say after every interview, we'll take it one bite at a time.